My sisters and brothers, the Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he had sat down, his disciples came to him. He began to teach them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the land. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the clean of heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are they who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when they insult you and persecute you and utter every kind of evil against you falsely because of me. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward will be great in heaven." The Gospel of the Lord.
Greetings of peace and goodness to you, my friends. On this Feast of All Saints, we are given an opportunity to reflect most emphatically about our life with the saints and what the saints mean for us and just who can be considered a saint. Saints, I guess, should go without explanation, are those people who dared to live a Christian life. Their lives are an encouragement and an inspiration for us. It's why it's always good for us to have knowledge of the saints, and I mean the canonized saints, as well as the saints in our own family, because we have their record of what they went through and can identify with them. Every one of us should be familiar with our own, not only our patron saint, but also maybe have a book of the lives of the saints in our homes. But unfortunately, there's a tendency to turn the saints into objects of superstition and an antiseptic cult, in which case devotion to them becomes more of a hindrance than a help. Some people think that all they have to do is to get a relic of a saint and rub it on themselves for the holiness of a saint to be transferred to them, and thereby achieving healing or a cure for whatever it is their body is ailing. But it's not that easy. The saints are revered to serve as models for us in following Christ. And as many saints there are, and there are multitudes, more than 144,000 that is proclaimed in the book of Revelation. As many saints as there are, that's how many ways there are to follow Christ. So we should pick the saint whose way we can follow. Saints don't provide for us a shortcut or a way of avoiding that hard slog of plowing along the narrow road. And we shouldn't expect them to do it for us. That's what we should do for ourselves. There's a story about a man called Peter who prided himself on having a great devotion to St. Francis of Assisi. Now, Peter was very friendly with a carpenter and his family. The carpenter's wife had a crippled brother who lived with them, and on one Sunday afternoon, Peter went for a walk with the carpenter and his wife. The crippled brother stayed home, saying he was happy to remain behind, provided he had a book and a glass of water beside him. So, having provided him with these, they left, locking the door behind them. They had a very enjoyable walk, basking in the warm autumn sunshine. And as dusk fell, they went to a restaurant for supper. But as he was eating, Peter was not very comfortable. He felt rather uneasy at the thought of the crippled brother sitting alone in the darkening house. If a fire were to break out, he would certainly perish. Suddenly he thought of St. Francis, and he reflected, what's the use of studying the life of a saint and following in his footsteps in far off Assisi if I leave a poor crippled man alone in a dark house while I have it in my power to help him? So he abruptly rose from the table, left the wine and the food right there, ran back to the house to be with the crippled man. He said later, I felt an invisible hand pressing against my heart, and I was filled with such pain and shame that I began to tremble. I knew that St. Francis was giving me a message. In that story, we have an example of what the saints are supposed to mean for us. It's important that we have a patron saint, someone that whose life we can be familiar with their toils and their troubles and their difficulties. Have a patron saint that we can follow and have them challenge us, perhaps even shame us into living a Christian life. The church sets up saints as models precisely because they have imitated Christ, and they are reminders to us of life's true meaning and purpose. They inspire us and guide us and intercede for us. They are examples, teachers, friends, advocates. But, and it's a huge but, they can't do anything instead of us. They can't do anything in place of us. They can't do anything that we should be doing ourselves. Of what use would it be to boast about having a great devotion to some popular saint if that devotion had no meaning in our lives, no effect? To be pious is not a substitute for being good. Perhaps there can be goodness without piety, but I'm quite certain that there is no true holiness without also being good, without goodness. And all of us have the capacity for goodness. In the final analysis, it is love that it's all about. A loving person is a holy person. To be a saint is to be a witness to love. There is no higher vocation than this. St. John of the Cross said, "In the evening of our lives, we will be examined by only one thing. We will be examined on how we have loved." May the Lord grant you peace in ways that the world cannot.